Forward to the cloud. That's what I want to do. All right. One more minute. One more minute. Yeah, and also if you're watching, it'd be really nice to know if you can just introduce yourself in the chat, who you are, where you're from, what kind of questions you might have about the DPLA exchange. That would be great too. So we have a sense of who all's here. Hi, Tara. Tara Carpenter's here. And Brad's there. Hi, Brad.
How's everyone doing?
Wonderful.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Bellingham Public Library. Oh, hi, we've got Bellingham here. That's great. Forsyth County, Edmonton. Wonderful. Okay, Jill, should we get started?
Yes.
All right. So hello, everybody. My name is Heather Tesco, and I work with Lyrasis on hosting our open source e-reading software and working with DPLA. And today, Jill is going to chat about the DPLA exchange and the opportunities that people have to purchase titles from the DPLA exchange, your licensing agreements that are a little more, give people more flexibility, and how people can learn more and become part of it. So Jill came to DPLA from Baker and Taylor. You worked with school and public libraries right across the country. You were the field sales representative for public libraries in the Southeast, right? So we are so excited for Jill to be here. And Jill, I just lost your camera.
I got a message that my internet connection was unstable. So I was trying that out for a second. Sorry.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll tell you also, because I'm not sure how everybody's different setups are, because there's so many of us here and we look like the Brady Bunch. I'm just going to hit speaker view and make it a little bit easier to see Jill as you're talking too. So thank you so much for taking this opportunity to speak with us. And I've got some questions for you, and I'm sure you're going to have some things to add based on what I ask you and based on what some of the question chat. So go ahead and type questions in the chat as we're talking as well, if things come up, and we'll make sure I'll monitor that, Jill, so you don't have to, and we'll make sure to get
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So Jill, tell me a little bit about the DPLA exchange.
I'll tell you about the DPLA exchange, and why don't I tell you about DPLA too? The Digital Public Library of America, we're really well known on our founding work, which is with the preservation of digital cultural heritage documents across the United States. And a few years back, which probably seemed like several years to the people who were here from the beginning, DPLA decided to get into working with ebooks and expanding access to as many American readers as possible. And so the DPLA exchange was born. And after lots of hard work, it's, grassroots, coming from the ground up, not for profit. So it's a very different sales model compared to any other ebook or audiobook vendor in the library space. So some of our primary or most important work in expanding access to library patrons has been working with open source e-reader software like Simply E. And we have also delved into securing unusual or unheard of license models with publishers, some larger publishers and some very small. And we're just continuing that every day, rolling out those kinds of relationships with publishers. And so sorry.
Yeah, that leads me into my next question about some of these different licensing options and what makes them special, and what can you tell me about some of these different licensing options people have?
I would love to show you this, and this way I can show you the DPLA exchange as well.
Awesome.
Oh, and it has disabled screen sharing. So if
Oh,
you're able to do that in the meantime, I can talk about that.
okay.
So when it comes to the big five publishers, we offer, well, first of all, we can provide big five titles to libraries, just like you would be able to purchase with any other ebook vendor. So we're happy to be able to, do that kind of collection development work with you. So we can supply those super popular titles as they come out. All right, and I'm going to share my screen.
I did make you the co-host, so I think you should be able to.
It's very exciting.
There we go.
Okay, thank you. Great. And this is the DPLA exchange. And I think it's pretty traditional if you are used to doing collection development work in any other ebook vendor website. And so, and it's had a facelift recently. I'm very proud of our surgical work because it turned out really well. And you'll see on our homepage, we have our new and noteworthy titles, popular materials there. But these alternate license models that I'm talking about I know is providing these license models right now. And so let's see, Adventure Cats through Workman Press. Living 9 Lives to the Fullest, Adventure Cats, very important. But also book is available as a perpetual copy, unlimited loans, 1 loan at a time. That would be like purchasing a physical book that has an everlasting spine, 1 loan at a time. 40 loans with 10 concurrent loans available. That is really great in public library use. And then also 5 loans with 5 concurrent loans. It's a fraction of the price of the other 2 models. To me, that's a great way to try out a title, maybe to satisfy some patron requests with a low cost risk there, so you can gauge how that title might circulate. So those are 3 availabilities now, and we're working on a 4th to come soon. Workman Press is a publisher who is offering these. Abrams and everything that comes underneath Abrams is available with these license models. IPG and all of their ebook imprints, all of those smaller publishers who work with them. And we are, Ideas Roadshow is our newest one that I would love to talk to you about too.
Super excited to hear more about Ideas Roadshow. I was looking at their website and it's such a cool idea.
Yeah. So why don't I show you some specifics about Ideas Roadshow? I have to say, in my years of work in this space, I had not had much experience with them before. And once I got to meet with Howard Burton and Irina Burton, who founded Ideas Roadshow, I was really intrigued with how these materials could be used in public libraries. So Dr. Burton is a renowned physicist who had a research institution in Canada, and he realized that a lot of their work was not so easy to translate to the public, and also that some of these brilliant people with whom he was working were actually not so bad at communicating with the everyday layman. It's just that they hadn't had the opportunity to do so in their work. So he wanted to create, a window to the world for these, pretty intense topics for these subject matter experts. So he began to have these conversations and with renowned scientists, artists, sports players across the world, around the world, and then document them in video format, and then also turn those interviews into books that are easy to digest. So I'll just scroll through some of these. And Ideas Roadshow is offering these alternate license models for all of their materials. So Carol Dweck, Mindsets, Growing Your Brain. This is just really interesting. Crypto Reality, a conversation with Arthur Eckert. These are things that ordinarily I, a liberal arts major, might not be able to digest in a raw form report. But these are books that are so interesting and easy for, I'd say, high school through adults to understand and feel engaged with the subject and the subject matter. And Dr. Burton has even gone so far as to delve into these people's childhoods, their inspiration, their motivation, what they hope for the future in their fields. And he delves into, criminal justice, neuroscience, combating suicide. Just very interesting. They have almost 100 titles and collections available through Dpla Exchange now. So I'm very excited to be working with them. They're really excited to be working with us.
That's so exciting. How many times can we say exciting? But they're relatively new to, they're one of your newer publishers, right? How many publishers totally do you work with?
Oh, well, we have thousands of publishers, but
well,
I
count
say,
IPG and all that, yeah.
Right. And really any trade publisher we're working with, just like you would find in a traditional ebook sales or audiobook sales structure. However, these alternate license models right now, I'd say would be probably around 10 publishers, but one of those being, IPG and everything that encompasses. Same with Abrams and Workman, all the little publishing houses underneath those as well. Abrams is so awesome with children's fiction. So just the idea of having a copy of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, or one of every volume in the series that will never ever expire. Your library system will always have this ebook. That's just really cool to me.
That's super cool. Yeah. And Workman has such great stuff. I really like this idea of kind of what I think Dpla has been doing, speak for you, of, kind of this conversation around what's a bestseller and how do people discover what to read and all of that kind of stuff. I think it's so important to look at some of these alternate publishers that aren't necessarily the ones that you think, but they have such great content, and Workman stuff is amazing. I am so excited to know that they do some of these alternate models with you as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So Workman Press also, they have really great adult nonfiction and craft and how-to books. And whenever I'm talking to a public library about them, I love to bring up the idea of socially distanced reading clubs or makerspace and using those concurrent loan models so that 10 people in a neighborhood can all knit the same project together. So I like that model.
Yeah, that's good. It's fantastic. So how do libraries get it? Do you offer any kind of like assistance with helping libraries figure out what kind of license to choose or anything like that? Or are they just on their own?
No, they're never on their own. So first I'll say that we offer free collection development with our Curation Core librarians. They're MLIS librarians. So like libraries, our public libraries especially, are so busy and everyone is strapped for time. We are fully adept at getting your parameters for collection development and having one of our librarians build carts for the library based on those parameters, and then letting your collection development librarians fine tune those carts. Also, when it comes to types of license models, we're starting to think about, because we do not track patron data of any kind, that is a difference between DPLA and other providers. What are the ways that we can see how these license models are performing at existing DPLA libraries? And this might involve a lot of surveying about their checkout data and what they're willing to share from their ILS. But we'd like to see how hold SKUs are affected by these new models, especially the concurrent loan models. And just the availability, the way this open source e-reading software is programmed to show patrons the titles that are available for checkout right away, if that would boost readership of some of these titles that ordinarily might not be on the bestseller list.
Right.
So it's like a big experiment, and we're here to take notes.
No, I think that's great. And you talked about, kind of getting this data. And are there any sorts of best practices that you can share from any libraries that have been using the exchange for a while, and maybe some examples of how they're integrating that in with their existing collections?
Yes, I could. So I think some best practices that I've seen so far on state library levels are, because when you think of a staff who is strapped for time at a state library, there really aren't people just sitting in a room in the back of the house doing selection work. And yeah, they're so busy. But this is very common in public libraries now too, where everyone is pushed to the max. So I see a lot of collection development with the perpetual ownership materials available through DPLA. That's been very successful for big state library purchases. And then, like we've talked about in public libraries, the models with concurrent loans have done well for children's material and for that adult nonfiction. And we also want, as we grow, want to hear more and more back from libraries about how these models are performing, any circulation changes they've noticed, any effects really. And we also, if you are familiar with Bibliolabs, we are able to sell any Bibliolabs package, or Biblioboard is what some people are familiar with. Bibliolabs material packages that offer perpetual ownership as well. So that is something that can be purchased through DPLA. Yeah.
So many options.
Yeah.
So many options. So how do libraries navigate their way towards learning more, like signing up, talking to you? How does a library get set up with this? And what are the mechanisms, and what are the steps?
What the steps? Send an email. That's
Right.
a great first step. ebooks@dp.la.
Okay.
Or jill@dp.la. And I can also show you, or if you'd like to read more, ebooks.dp.la is the website for our ebook site. And you can read all about what our mission is, the Sloan Foundation, supporting our work and how we're growing from that. Our collections of simultaneous multi-user e-content, that's the Bibliolabs material. Those are multi-users, so any number of patrons can check them out at the same time, and they're owned perpetually.
So we got a question here from Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. And she wants to know, can you show monthly circulation statistics reporting?
So because we are working with open source software and we are not collecting patron data, right now, the way, and the circulation manager, because of that reason, you're what we call the circulation manager in this open source ebook reading world, like with platforms like Simply E, that wouldn't be able to capture that data. So the best way to do that would be really through mastery of Google Analytics. And here's what I love about Lyrasis. There are Google Analytics experts, or maybe they wouldn't consider themselves experts, but they've really discovered how to harness the power of Google Analytics to track circulation, to create your ideal report to receive at a period that that you determine, so monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly. And thank you, Lyrasis, for offering that service.
Yeah, of course. So that would just be integrated into your hosting, these open source ebook reading hosting services like Simply E.
Yes.
Yes, awesome. So with you, they're just buying the titles and then hosting them with one of these open source places. So let's see, are there any other questions? I had kind of scheduled in my head thinking that we would probably spend about a half an hour having this chat, unless people really want to dig in and get in the weeds and dig deep. But are there other questions that people might have about DPLA and about how to purchase these collections? Okay, patrons use Simply E. So patrons use Simply E to access these titles. Are there e-audios also, says Chris.
Yeah.
Hi, Chris.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Audiobooks. Yes, audiobooks are available through DPLA Exchange. And I'm happy to have some packages put together for you, or whatever makes life easy. Yes, absolutely.
And then Carissa wrote something here for, Chris is also a lyricist with Lyrasis, and she says to Elizabeth back, for Lyrasis hosted client statistics is something we assist in helping set up for libraries who purchase the content from DPLA. And then Beverly has a question. Can the DPLA Exchange automate carts like for purchasing for holds queues or expired metered access titles?
That's a wonderful question. That is something that is on our development roadmap for the next quarter. That's a huge deal to us. We want to be able to meet you wherever you're used to being met by an ebook provider. So yes, we want to be able to notify you when materials are about to expire and when you might consider a purchase of a particular title.
Awesome. And then Mary, sorry, I had missed one here reading Chris's notes. So Mary wants to know, do records integrate into library catalogs like with BiblioCommons?
So we are working on a way to provide MARC records directly from DPLA. We are working on a MARC record generator and hopefully being able to meet your criteria for a MARC record that you could upload into your OPAC. Does that answer that question?
I think it does, that you're working on that, on creating this MARC record.
That is a big ticket item too. We are all over it.
Perfect. You're all over it. Awesome. Any other questions that people might have? We'll have it open here for a little bit. And also, for those who came on a little late, I am taping this. I'm going to put it up on the Lyrasis YouTube channel, so we'll be able to have it in perpetuity, so people can look and go back if there's anything you missed. So here's a question: what does curating content lists look like?
So curating custom carts for a library, to me, that looks like working with the library, with the collection development librarian in charge of the purchase or the project, and determining the criteria they would use to build this order. So that could be publication dates, publisher or subject matter, audience level. If it's for children's, a lot of times awards are a criterion that you would use. any of those parameters to do a search or some searching, and then not just giving you a card of everything that shows up, but having one of our librarians who is very experienced in collection development at a public library give you an excellent quality card. And price is something that really affects that too. If they say, my budget is, $4,000, I'm not going to send you a cart for $115,000. So, but if your budget's $115,000, please give me a call. So I'm turning that down.
Jill would love to speak with you then.
Yes. May I take a moment to speak about Open Bookshelf?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, if we don't have more questions. The Open Bookshelf is a project that we have built from the ground up. Our director of ebooks, Micah May, this is like a passion project of his, and it's a group of more than 10,000 ebooks available, and it includes textbooks, it includes English and Spanish and some other languages, mostly English books, books from public domain that have all been curated by our curation core of librarians, and that means sometimes put into legible font, or really a lot of consideration of its value to the entire collection. Also, cover art sometimes is something that's lacking for a digital copy of a book. So providing that, so they're hard at work building that, and you can access that through the exchange. I'll show you how a library could do collection development from the Open Bookshelf. All of these books are free. Once a patron downloads a book from the Open Bookshelf, if that streams in through a swim lane on Simply E, they can keep that book on their device forever. It doesn't go away if they don't want it to. These are some books that we actually created with St. Mary's County Library, and thank you so much to them for their partnership with them. For their partnership, we are very willing and want to know if a library has some local content that they would like to turn into an ebook that they could have forever and share it on the Open Bookshelf with the entire country. So here, just like any collection development work, you can choose books one by one to add to your collection, or lyricists can add all of them to your Simply E collection in one fell swoop. I'm getting sick of my own voice, so.
So it's just its own collection than the Open Bookshelf, or its own swim lanes. Perfect. Are there any other questions that people might have? That's fantastic. I don't see any coming in, and we have gone for almost exactly half an hour, which was what I kind of had thinking this would take. So
again, those email addresses are ebooks@dp.la or jill@dp.la.
And I have put that in the chat.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jill, for taking the time for sharing us all about the Dpla exchange and these opportunities that libraries have to try new publishers in new and creative licensing. And it's such great work. And I'm thrilled that we got to share it with so many people today. And thank you for everybody who came. And yeah, there's Jill's information there. So if you have more questions, you can get in touch with her afterwards. So anything else that you want to add?
No, I'm just really grateful for everyone who showed up to hear about this. Thank you so much. Thanks to you, Heather.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thanks everybody for coming, and thanks for your participation. Awesome. All right, bye.